Hey guys, Jeff Putnam here, Jeff Putnam's Fly Fishing Schools. We are on the Rogue River, swinging for steelhead. It's the end of the first week of July. Fish are moving in. They're hot, they're bright, they're grabby. I will be guiding steelhead all the way through mid-November. So if you want to come on up and fish with me, now is the time. I think October, probably my favorite. It's kind of when the biggest push of fish come through, but there are fish moving in right now. So I'm also up here teaching fly fishing lessons, spey casting, single-handed, overhead casting, single-handed spey, fishing techniques, whatever you need. We can schedule a time and a lesson. I also do group lessons. So if you want to put a group together, that also works. You can also check out my website, jpflyfishing.com, for everything that is up and coming, including the Rogue Spey Clave, which is going to happen August 23rd at Griffin Park, which is downstream by Grants Pass. It's maybe about, I don't know, 15 miles or so downstream from where I'm at right now. And the cool thing about the Rogue Spey Clave, it's during the steelhead run. So make sure you bring your rod, stay a couple days, do some fishing. If you want a guided float trip in the morning before the 23rd, I think I've got availability on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. You can always reach me on my website and schedule a guided trip. So I'll be putting out some helpful short videos, just a few minutes long, not a lot of editing, so I can get more of them out. I'll probably link those on my website and my YouTube channel. You can also catch those on my Rumble channel as well. So before we get into our helpful fishing tips on spey casting, the 4 steps to spey casting, which I've been teaching for a really long time, and figured out there's actually a method to teaching spey which makes it pretty easy. So we'll talk about those 4 steps and how to break everything down. Prior to that, just a little information on myself and how I got into fly fishing. I started at a real young age catching crawdads and kite string with hot dogs. I'm at a little pond close to where I grew up in Sacramento. I remember one time I went out there and put a hook on, a little gold eagle claw hook. I think I got it from my dad's tackle box, and put that on and ended up hand lining a small catfish in. How cool this is. Got a fishing pole that my parents got for me, went camping and would catch trout, fishing close to Sacramento, up in the mountains, Sierra Nevadas, Little Truckee River, Silver Fork of the American, South Fork of the American. It's kind of where I started catching most of my fish with a spinning rod when I was young. And then I remember watching on TV American Sportsman with Kurt Gowdy. I saw a guy fly fishing. I was like, what the heck is that guy doing, waving that rod around and fly lines in the air? What's this all about? So fast forward a year or two after that, I was on the Truckee River fishing the Little Truckee, and I saw this guy as I was walking back to camp in the evening fishing this beautiful run with a fly rod. It's the first time I'd ever seen a fly fisherman on the water. So I sat on the bank and I watched him, and just in amazement, he was catching fish on dry fly, catching little trout. It's just really like how cool this is, because this is what I saw on television. So the guy starts talking with me a little bit, explains what he's doing, ties a fly on my fishing pole. And I was using a little clear bobber. I remember catching a couple trout that evening. So I kind of did that for a year or so, and I started tying flies, also using them on my spinning rod, fishing them with a little bubble, catching trout in California, primarily when I was camping with my parents when they would take me out. And so saved up a couple dollars, went to the Big Five by my house, Big Five Sporting Goods, and bought a fiberglass Berkeley fly fishing pole. It was not a rod, it was bad. I think it had like 4 guides and a foam handle, but that was good for me. I can be in my backyard casting my swimming pool every single day. I used to enjoy doing that, and the neighbors would pop their head over the fence. Hey kid, you catching anything today? So that was my life. I'd go to school, come back home, right in the swimming pool, casting again every single day with a level fly line. Don't ever fly fish with a level fly line. It needs to have a taper on it. It'd be a lot easier. So I did that for a while, and when I got into 7th grade, I wasn't doing so good. My math teacher calls my parents in for a conference, and turns out Jeff needs to apply himself and focus a little bit more. And my math teacher asked my mom, yeah, he's just not focused, he's not paying attention, and looks over at me and says, what are you doing when you're in my class? You have your math book there, but you're not listening. So in my math book, I'd put my Fly Fisherman magazine right in there and hold it up, pretending I was reading math problems when I was actually learning how to fish places like Hat Creek. Turns out my math teacher was a big fly fisherman, so he said, if you get a B or better on the next test, I'll take you fishing. Wow, that was awesome. I think I got a A- on the next test, and took me out to the American River in Sacramento, and we caught a bunch of small steelhead. At that time, it was probably steelhead probably didn't even go to the ocean, but there used to be a pretty decent kind of a trout population. So I had a wonderful time, and him and I fished together for years after that. He took me to Hat Creek, McLeod, Upper Sacramento. We even went up to the Deschutes River, went up into Washington, fishing steelhead up there, North Umpqua. So I was very fortunate being able to fish some of the real cool destinations at a very young age. And that's kind of how my addiction started. And then when I turned 18, I graduated high school and went out to Colorado, did some guiding out there, went to Montana for a couple years afterwards, and went back to Colorado. In the meantime, during the winters, I usually spent them in California where I could steelhead fish. And started working at a local fly shop, Keeney's Fly Shop, and had a wonderful time working for Bill Keeney. And then because of him, I started traveling, fishing different destinations around the world. Love to fish on the flats for saltwater fish, permit, snook, tarpon, bonefish. Love Spring Creek fishing, which is kind of where I got my start when I was really young. Love the dry fly matching the hatch game. And then I think my favorite all around is swinging for steelhead. Can't get enough of that. It's one of the reasons why I moved up here to the Rogue River. Allows me to fish real close to where I live. A really, really good steelhead fishery. So that's where I'm at now. I'm up here guiding from about the first part of July through mid-November for summer and fall steelhead. I also teach fly fishing lessons up here, casting single-handed, two-handed spey, travel down to Sacramento on occasion as well, and also Redding. And if you're looking for a lesson, you can go to my website, jpflyfishing.com, contact us, fill out the information, and I'll be in touch with you, and we'll schedule a time where we can get together and help your fly fishing skills evolve a little bit. So I've been teaching spey casting for quite a long time now. Teaching single-handed when I was about 16, 17 years old, and got into teaching spey casting late 90s. And I've come to the conclusion after teaching for a while that spey casting can be broken down into 4 easy steps. It doesn't have to be hard. It's isolating each one of those steps and working on specific casting exercises that makes it easier as well. So 4 easy steps to spey casting. That's how I teach it. Hope this video explains how easy spey casting can actually be. There's simply 4 steps. First step, starting position. Rod tip low, no slack. Step number 2, lifting your rod tip up and pointing to the target that you are eventually going to cast towards. Step 3, formation of the D-loop and anchor point. Step 4, the forward stroke. So there it is, 4 easy steps. Let's take you through each step. Let's break them down. So step number 1 simply is your starting position. If you're doing a touch and go cast, it's the rod tip pointing downstream at the fly line with absolutely no slack. This is step number 1. If I'm doing a sustained anchor cast, like a snap tee, step number 1 is simply the snap, or repositioning the fly line. Step number 2 in every cast, point your rod tip in the direction that you want to cast in. Notice the rod tip is above the top of my head. The height of that rod tip is relative to how deep I'm wading and the distance I'm trying to cast. Step number 3, probably the most difficult part of spey casting, setting up the D-loop and the anchor point. From the rod tip in the step 2 position, I simply bring the rod tip back on a flat 180-degree path as I set my D-loop and anchor point, which looks just like this. Once the anchor point touches the water, it's time for step number 4. Step number 4 is simply the forward cast. Step number 4 looks just like that. We're stopping the rod tip at a higher position to form a tight loop, and we let the line turn over along with the leader and present the fly to the water surface. So this spey casting technique works really well for your short heads like your scandies and your skagits, but it also works really well when casting those longer belly lines.